Join us in our welcome song sung by Toby Lim.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
Hello, friends. Welcome to this virtual Unitarian Universalist intergenerational service coming to you from Western New York near the beautiful shores of Lake Erie. Welcome all of you, all who grieve, all who hope, all of you who made the effort to join us for loving support and service. As we anticipate the lengthening of our days, embrace ourselves for the work ahead, striving for a world more just, fair, and healthy. Envisioning a world where our children and grandchildren live free and happy lives. Today we will focus on using our imaginations to make life better. During our sermon, Jess, Lustig, and I will provide you with an opportunity to use your imagination. And let's begin with lighting our chalice.
Our chalice lighting words today are from On the Brink by Leslie Takahashi. All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stands with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a deeper joy in this life we share.
Love others as you love yourself. That is our golden rule. We know that all faiths teach this. It unifies us all. Beneath the 7 principles, the golden rule's foundation instructs us in the ways of love and toward illumination. The first, we each have worth. The second, from compassion, spring equity and justice in all human relations. The third, we find acceptance, encouragement to grow. The fourth, we look for meaning and seek the truth to know. The fifth, we yield to conscience, let every voice be heard. The sixth, we build community, peaceful, free, secure. The seventh, final principle, respect the living web of life upon our planet home, connected and complex.
Please join us in the reading from the sources of our living tradition. Today we focus on our first source. Please join me in reading the source with your microphone muted. The living tradition which we share draws from many sources, including direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life.
Hi, neighbor. Welcome again to this neighborhood. I'd like to show you something. You know what this is? Well, maybe if I press this button. This is a cassette player with a little cassette in here, and there's nothing written on it, so we'll just have to play it to see what it is. Do you ever imagine things? Are they scary things? Are they scary things? Do you ever imagine things? Things you'd like to have? Did you ever see a cat's eyes in the dark and wonder what they were? Did you ever pretend about things like that before? Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think, and they'll grow. Imagine every person that you see is somewhat different from every other person in the world. Some can do some things, some can do others. Did you ever think of the many things you've learned to do? Many things you've learned. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think, and they'll grow. Did you feel like going like that? Let's give the fish some food. Mr. McFeely, I didn't order any whistle. That's what they call a slide whistle, friends. Did you feel like going like that? There are so many things to learn about in this world, and so many people who can help us learn. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think, and they'll grow.
Our opening words are by Dr. Seuss. Think left and think right, and think low and think high. Oh, the things you can think up if only you try.
Beautiful Oops by Barney Saltzberg. Oops, a torn piece of paper is just the beginning. Every spill has lots. Bent paper is something to celebrate. A little drip of paint lets your imagination run wild. A scrap of paper can be fun to play with. A smudge and a smear can make magic appear. A stain has potential if you play with its shape. Holes in your paper are worth exploring. When you think you have made a mistake, oops, think of it as an opportunity to make something Beautiful.
At this time in our service, let's take a moment to consider our deeply felt joys and concerns. Concerns for the world, for our nation, and for our own personal lives. And now, as we begin our sermon, let's do a little body check, since it's easier to engage our imaginations when we feel relaxed. So let's start by making sure you're in a comfortable seat. And let's scrunch our face and release 3 times. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3. And now let's scrunch our shoulders and relax them 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let your shoulders settle, let your belly expand. Relax your gaze as we imagine and dream with Jess.
Jess and Tigger and Reginald, apparently. So, hello, friends. We're going to have a little imaginative adventure and think some thoughts together. And so I would like you to start with me to imagine a yellow cardinal. Your standard, ordinary backyard cardinal, just yellow instead of red. Now, imagine somebody playing a violin. Imagine if you could see the notes coming out of the violin. What color would those notes be? Now, imagine the color blue, the blue of the most perfect blue sky. What would that blue smell like? Now, let's put it all together. Picture your yellow cardinal trilling its rainbow of notes as it flies across a clear blue scented sky. There we go. We just made something new. Our minds created something that never existed before, which I think is a pretty magical thing that we humans can do. So when I was in high school, I was kind of struggling with Christianity. I was raised in the Christian tradition, and I went to an all-girls high school, and it was an Episcopalian all-girls high school. And we were struggling with the idea of being created in God's image, because we were teenage girls, we were pretty diverse, and we had mostly been raised in the old white guy version of God. And our chaplain said, what if being created in the image of God is not that we look like God, not that God is people-shaped, but that as humans, we, like God, have the power to imagine, that we have the power to create, that we have the power to bring things into being. And whether we believe in God or not, it's a pretty powerful notion, a pretty empowering notion. And so if we can do that, imagine the difference we can make in the world. And it's a nice thought, but when there's so much going on, where to begin? It's so easy to get overwhelmed. And I heard an interesting interview after the January 6th insurrection. NPR was talking to a bunch of different faith leaders. And the one that stuck with me, the question presented to the faith leaders was, what advice would you give in these troubled times? And the one that stuck with me is that someone replied, I would ask first, what hurts? Then, what can I do to ease the hurt? And what can I do to help? So, what hurts? Lean into it. Be specific. It's really scary to face what's hurting, but important to identify it. So deep, reach inside, find what hurts, and then ask yourself what you can do to ease that pain. And it doesn't necessarily need to be productive. Maybe what will ease the pain is eating a bunch of carbs and screaming into the void. Or you could be creative. You could paint something, or maybe plant something. But when we're done screaming or planting or painting, then it's time to imagine the way forward. To ask ourselves, what can we do to help? And I think that it's easy, so easy, to get bogged down in the despair of the problems we're facing are so big and we are so small. But if enough of us small we's each do our own small things, imagine how big that could be. To sort of in that vein, I remember an interview with a rabbi a few summers ago, and I wish I could remember who it was, but I don't. And he said something along the lines of that God is not like a person. Don't think of God as a person. Think of God as an action. God is our acts of love and service and the pinnacle of good that we can do in the world. So to have no other God before me, or to put God first, to worship, isn't to bow down at an altar, but rather to rise up and to love and to serve. So what if we combine these ideas? What if we allow our tender, small human hearts to break, and then to use our big, creative, imaginative, godlike brains to pick up the pieces and build something amazing together? Can you imagine how beautiful that could be?
We Homo sapiens are newcomers in the cosmic story. If the age of the Earth is the distance from your nose to the tip of your outstretched hand, one stroke of a nail file erases human history. But just as there's deep time behind us, there's deep time ahead. In 6 billion years, any creatures that will be around to see our sun die will be as different from us as we are from the first single-cell bacteria. Yet in an eye blink of just 2 centuries, we've done untold damage to the living world. Hooked on short-term thinking, we urgently need a sense of a longer now. So how can we expand our time horizons into the decades and centuries to come? By realizing that we are all part of a great chain of life, stretching far into the past and long into the future. But we've been shining the light only on the present moment. We must now cast it far more widely, so that we recognize the legacy we will leave for the generations to come. Just as we have received gifts from our ancestors, those who planted the first seeds, founded the cities we live in, and made the scientific discoveries that have ensured our survival, so we too can pass on gifts to posterity. Imagine a child you know and care about, growing older, then holding their own grandchild in their arms. This newborn could live long into the 22nd century. Their future isn't science fiction. It's an intimate family fact. What kind of world do we want to leave to future generations? And how will they judge us for what we did or didn't do when we had the chance? We stand at a pivot point in history. We can turn our backs on the future or choose to become good ancestors.
As you listen to the song in the next video, consider what your wishes for the future are. Engaging with our ancestors, imagine what will be. We dream, we dream, we dream a future for humanity. We hold our elders in memory. We watch our children grow. We see our world. We ponder what we know. La, 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 One day we'll be the ancestors. Our love informs our now. We wish, we wish, we wish legacy, our vow. Connect our generations. The world will change, we know. Create a vision and work to make it so.
Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And now we invite Toby to sing our closing song.
We listen to each other, we share with each other, we learn from each other, we grow. together, while we are together, and while we are apart, I will hold you in my heart. May love guide us on a path of peace. May love guide us on a path of peace. While we are together and while we are apart, I will hold you in my heart. I will hold you in my heart.
Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye. And thank you for singing, Toby.
Bye.